had to really sit myself down and focus on the word gratitude, because in order for me to get past certain hurdles that just seemed impossible to climb over, I needed to realize what other elements in my life I was grateful for and have that to anchor me. Some people will ask the question, well, how do I do that if I've never gone through trauma, or I haven't lost someone, or, I haven't been through something traumatic? In order to help me realize that, we all have our own battles, whether that's small or large. And through that, what I've learned losing my father and helping me view gratitude in a total different way is perspective always resets my focus. There is always going to be someone out there that is in a worse off situation, or what they're going through is completely magnified to what you are going through. And to have that in mind definitely assists me in amplifying my gratitude and to help me take the next step forward.
How do you get perspective?
I'm a very visual and in-depth person. I'm always unpacking things. I'm always analyzing. And I guess for me, I'm always thinking, well, how could this situation be worse? There's many different ways it could be worse. And right now I'm going to focus on what currently is, what it is, and how I can step around this. And sometimes that just, it helps refocus the perspective. I also choose to surround myself with people that are able to bring me back to ground zero, and to help rationalize my thinking when sometimes emotions take your mind into an irrational space.
How long did it take you after the death of your father to start thinking or coming from a space of gratitude about his life and how he's lived his life? How long did that process take?
This is quite an interesting question. So while he was on his deathbed in ICU, I had a total of 5 days with him before he passed away, but he was on life support from the moment we took him to hospital. So I never had an opportunity to have my last conversation with him.
Was he in an accident?
He had, it was heart failure, in short. His heart was in fibrillation and the muscles around his heart were damaged. He was an alcoholic, and by the time we had got him to the doctor, probably about 3 hours later, he was put on life support, and he was never brought back to consciousness until he died. So the 5 days I had with him was really sitting next to his bed, having to speak. The first few days were words of affirmation, really lifting, building him up, letting him know what life after being in this ICU room was going to be like. And then halfway through that process, I realized that if he's conscious of what I'm telling him, and he knows something more than I do, and he knows he's going to pass away, I wouldn't want him to feel like he's disappointed me and the family. And that's when I had to shift my mindset and realize, okay, Caley, you're not prepared for this, but if death is part of this situation, we got to change. Girl, we got to start changing how we're speaking to him. And we got to make him feel that it's okay to let go. And that very moment made me realize I needed to start speaking words of gratitude. And in that moment, let me tell you, I was off antidepressants already by this stage. And my personal journey, by the grace of God, I had perspective over what was to come. And even though it was the worst challenge that was overcoming my life at that very moment, I knew that there was something bigger. And I would sit there holding his hand, whispering into his ear, and I didn't know if he could hear me or not, but I knew that the power of prayer that had already started building through massive amounts of people was creating such a positive energy out of that hospital room, and I knew it was affecting people's lives. Other than what we were experiencing in that ICU room, but what was generating outside, I had perspective over. And I knew that what was to come, and in the next couple of years, other than what my journey is and the struggle and the trauma that I've had to go through, there's so much good that comes from it. And I just knew it in that moment.
It's interesting what you're talking about in terms of like the energy, because it's really difficult to talk about and to describe, because like you say, there's one thing being in the room and someone's on the deathbed,
Yeah.
but then feeling like an energy, because I felt that with my granddad, and it was, I think people thought I was crazy. I think I think they thought I was nuts, because nobody, I don't think anyone else saw it, you know.
Everyone's journey is so unique and different, and you can never expect someone to understand until and unless they have been in a similar situation, and yet still understand their experience is going to be different to yours, and just respect that their journey is different.
There was definitely another plane, there was a different frequency, and there was a different
frequency.
energy,
I like that. Yep.
That I could feel that was positive. That was a really positive thing in that kind of moment of chaos and crazy. Did you have to consolidate anger? Because I guess with him, you know, being an alcoholic, that's self-inflicted, and it's almost like, well, you know, he's brought it on himself, you know, kind of leaving a family to fend for themselves type thing.
It manifests in so many different dark places. I fortunately at that stage had perspective and empathy, which are two topics we've covered, over what he was going through, and I tried to take a selfless look at that rather than feeling like a victim, although I had stages of my morning where I felt like the victim, and why is this happening to me, and why me? Why me? Why does this happen at such a young age? Why can't I have my father take me down my wedding aisle? Why can't I have my father-daughter dance at my wedding, you know? But at the same time, again, taking two steps back and saying, well, let's have perspective here. Some people are orphans by the time they get married. I had my mom. I had the most wonderful, supportive family. So guess what? It's not all that bad. And then just trying to, bringing it back, is just trying to understand the demons and the struggles he was fighting in that moment. That really helped me empathize with why he was doing what he was doing. And at the end of the day, I'll never understand, because I never had that conversation with him, and we all have our own demons to fight. But yeah, anger was something that I had to process through. I was angry with life. I was angry that this had happened to me at such a young age, but it also happened. So I can sit and be angry, but what is that going to do for me? It's just going to manifest, and it's going to make me a worse off person. And I had the decision. No one else could make that decision for me. Sometimes it takes a little longer than expected, but we also have to do a full cycle until you can get out to the other side and see the rainbow.
Yeah, you were very blessed that you had the awareness